in a discovery that has left archaeologists stunned.
All right, let's see it.
A 3,200-year-old lead tablet was found at Mount Abel, the very place where the Bible says Joshua built an altar. But what makes this find even more incredible is what's written inside. When researchers scanned the folded tablet, they found an ancient Hebrew inscription that reads, "Cursed, cursed, cursed, cursed by the god YHW." This is one of the earliest written references to Yahweh, dating back to the time of the Judges, making it a monumental discovery for biblical archaeology.
So if this were an actual Hebrew inscription that actually mentioned the Tetragrammaton, it would not just be one of the earliest, it would be the single earliest by like 400 years. This would push back the dating of the development of the Hebrew language significantly as well. And this is where alarm bells should start going off. This is not an inscription. This is actually a lead fishing weight from the Iron Age. See, here are a bunch of other examples of lead fishing weights that have been discovered in, around, and near this area. And this is what they discovered. And this was not part of an archaeological excavation. They were sifting through all of the dirt that was tossed aside during excavations that took place decades ago. And they try to date this to around 1400, but this account wants to date it to around 1200 because they prefer the later date for the Exodus rather than the earlier date for the Exodus. But here's the scan that they suggest shows a bunch of letters. And here's a drawing that Gershon Galil did showing these letters as they were identified by the apologists who published this paper and came up with this reading. And in addition to the fact that this whole thing is about the size of a postage stamp, and so these letters are incredibly tiny, the size, the orientation, and the form of the letters are all very, very different from each other. In fact, here's a page showing all of the images that are supposed to represent the letter Aleph, and they're written very, very differently from each other. So this is not a great scribe if this were an actual inscription. Even more damning though, here is that drawing again, and then here is what it looks like when you actually follow the path that you have to follow in order to get the desired reading. You start in the bottom left, and then you go up, and you see you're circling around, and you're making a very circuitous, tortuous path to get down to the end of this reading. This is not how Northwest Semitic inscriptions read. What these are bumps and cracks in this lead that are being misunderstood and misrepresented as letters of an inscription. And then they're forcing it to make sense by reading it in this arbitrary, circuitous path. If you want a good refutation of this argument, there's a paper here that discusses it, that also talks about how it has to follow this circuitous path. So that should be easily accessible if you just Google the title and you'd like to find out more about all the problems with this. But this has not changed anything about archaeology. This is just something that some apologists made up because of their wishful thinking and their lack of discipline and critical thought. And the fit for this video has been Adonai and his Asherah.